Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Bryndís and I like to read a lot. And today I'm giving you a reading update. It's been a while, been a couple of weeks since my last update, but there have been a couple of reasons for that. I'll talk about one of them later, but one of them has been that I've been quite busy doing all sorts of projects here. I'm staying at my parents' house for the summer and in the northwest of Iceland. And one of the things that we've been doing is redoing the guest bedroom that I'm staying in. So I laid new flooring. My niece and we did all of that work, laid new flooring, parquet flooring, and my dad bought new bookshelves, and I've been organizing them, making them beautiful. So a lot of things have been going on. But the other reason I will tell you in a second. But first, I'm going to talk to you about the books that I finished in the last couple of weeks. And the first book that I finished is The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. So this book was actually a huge surprise to me. It kind of was what I was expecting and what I'd heard other people talking about, but it was also completely different. I didn't know what to expect. I kind of bought it a couple of years ago because everybody else was buying it, got completely sucked into doing book hauls here on YouTube and buying all the books, which is fine, but so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And I've decided to read this book finally. It's been on my shelves. It's part of my Read What You Own challenge, but it's also it's also a part of my diversity book bingo. So I've never read that I can remember anything from India that is Indian by an Indian author. And this is definitely very Indian. It is a story I'm sure most of you probably know. It's a story, it takes place in a village where the main character, Gita, her husband is disappeared and people think that she killed him because he was abusing her. And then the other women in the village start to ask her to help them get rid of their abusive husbands. And there are definitely serious undertones here. Not even undertones, like major themes: domestic abuse, spousal abuse, and mistreatment of women in particular. So it's, they're very serious undertones. But I thought this book had so much humor, like this really dark kind of humor. And I laughed out loud several times in this book because it was this like, what do you mean? Like, everybody was asking her to kill their husband. It was just, there was these really serious things happening, but I giggled sometimes because the way they were portrayed were just very sarcastically funny, kind of dry, dark humor, funny. So I actually loved this book very much and I'm giving it 5 stars. I thought it was really good and I would actually think this is the book that I might actually want to read again. And definitely book that I'm keeping on my shelves for sure. But yeah, it was just really fun to read something that I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, but that turned out to be just really good. So if you haven't read it, but you heard about it, I think that you should read it. It's excuse me, I seem to be coming down with a cold. But yeah, so really good. Like I said, I just really enjoyed the humor and Emma obviously wants to say hi. She's really loving staying here, being here with with her granddad, with my dad, and loving it very much. Yeah, but anyway, very good book. The other book that I finished in last week is Lonesome Dove, and this is the book that made me not do a video last week, basically because I just felt that I needed to finish it before I could even talk about it just a little bit. And so I'm not a fan of Westerns in general. I mean, I don't hate them or anything. It's just not kind of the genre of books that I would like seek out. I mean, I grew up watching Westerns on TV and movies and everything. You know, John Wayne, I remember those old-time Westerns. And, you know, I'm very old, obviously. But, yeah, so it's, you know, Westerns, I know about Westerns, but they're not something that I find very amusing. I wasn't sure also if I wanted to read this book because it's a Western, and I find that Westerns often kind of, I'm aware of the genocide of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, and often the cowboys and the rangers or whatever in the Westerns are the heroes, when they often also kind of shouldn't be, maybe. So I find it sometimes a little bit, yeah, it doesn't always appeal to me, the culture around Westerns. So going into this book, I was like, oh, okay, let me just try it. Everybody seems to love it, and you know, so why not? Why not go for it? I did not know that Lonesome Dove is a part of like a standalone series, which is interesting. So there are more books by this author to read if you're interested in that. I'm gonna try very hard not to have spoilers here. So this book, first of all, it's brutal. There is some brutality happening here. It kind of talks a little bit, it's almost like it's in conversation with the Bandit Queens, because of the amount of violence against women, which is like brutal in this book. Almost all of the women in this book are prostitutes. There are not a lot of women, but those who are, except maybe one, are basically prostitutes. So it's well, there aren't, what are they? Two women, really? There really are only two women who are like main characters. One of them is a prostitute and one of them isn't. So maybe there aren't a lot of prostitutes, but it does seem that most of the women on the frontier or in the frontier were prostitutes, basically. And the violence against them, whew, horrible. And yeah, it was brutal. Sexual violence in particular. And men, like this book, both of these books kind of prove why it's very smart for women. If you heard about like the question, if you were alone in the woods, would you rather be alone with a bear or a man? And most women seem to choose the bear. These books kind of tell you why. All of the men, except maybe two in this entire book, and there are a lot of men, all they thought about when they saw a woman was having a poke. It was like the men were just these baseless sexual predators to a large degree. But there were some really fun depictions of very young men, you know, boys really having their first encounters. It was quite funny. But anyway, so men are not really nice people in this book. I find it really hard also to kind of some of the terminology that the characters using, it's almost as if they are comparing the indigenous peoples to horses, and that in order to, if you have wild horses, you need to break them when you're taming them, basically. And that's what they needed to do with the indigenous peoples. That's very brutal language here. But he's not, the author is not like glorifying these rangers and soldiers and cowboys or whoever. And he's also not like angelifying the indigenous people. So it's like, I imagine that this is probably a very kind of factual, in a way, description of how things were. But this book is so good. In spite of like the brutality, and I mean, I was sometimes just like sobbing or wanting to sob because I had a pit in my stomach because, oh my God, I felt so bad for these people. Horrible. And the writing is so good. The character building, or the character building, the world, the descriptions. This is a very good book. This is a book that I'm gonna think about for a very long time. I don't know if it might become like one of my top favorite books. I feel that it's a little bit too brutal for me to really love it. But it's definitely high up there, like in the top 5 of my all-time favorites, or at least all-time best books that I've read. And I'm happy that I read it. And I would recommend that you read it, but be prepared for the brutality. But there's also, I mean, I have to say that I don't think that there's a lot of hope in this book. It feels very, I mean, I'm assuming it's just the way it used to be, you know, in these territories back in the day. I'm sure it was probably similar here in Iceland. It was just about survival. Just making it through the day, basically, or the night, or whatever. And so it doesn't feel like there's a lot of hope. And some really sad things just kept happening again and again and again. So it's a rather bleak book, I feel. But it's still beautiful and lovely, and I don't know. It's just a masterpiece. It's really good. So this is definitely a 5-star for me. And yeah, it was wonderful. I'm not sure that I want to read anything more from this world, from this author, because it was so brutal and bleak. But if I have to look into the other books, if one of them has Newt Dobbs as a main character or like a big character, I would consider that, because he was my favorite character of the book. He was just a young boy, like he's like, I think 17 or something, 16 or 17 at the beginning. And he's kind of coming into himself as like a grown man, and seems to have a really good head on his shoulders, and is very competent, but also very kind and generous. And I loved that character. Gus, I loved Gus as well. I think he was very rough and kind of, you know, I thought at first that I didn't like him at first, but he turned out to be really kind of a good guy. But those were kind of the my favorite characters in the book. So, but there are a lot of really fun and interesting characters, but just the brutality of it, you're just like really, and it's just sometimes it's just also so sudden and unexpected. So anyway, I'm not gonna talk more about it. It was a really good book, and 100% recommend, 5 stars. And then the books that I'm currently reading, I have started an audiobook. It was kind of accidental. I was just, I didn't have an audiobook. Well, I need to have an audiobook. I can't go to sleep without an audiobook. So after I finished Lonesome Dove, I had to go find an audiobook. So none of the books that I was planning to read kind of called to me. I started to listening to the Count of Monte Cristo, but then I was like, oh, I can't go into another huge book like that after I've just been reading so many big books. So I was just kind of scrolling on my audiobook app, and I found this book, A Simple Story by Elizabeth Inchbald. So this one was published in 1791, and this author is kind of one of the influences of Jane Austen. So this is a book about a young lady who is orphan and she has a guardian, and kind of her moving through society and probably getting married, and or at least being suited, in suit. Other people, men are shooting her. I'm very short way in. It's fine. It's definitely not Jane Austen for sure. And it's not Fanny Frances Burnett. No, Burney, Frances Burney. But yeah, it's. Oh God, I think I have some sort of allergic reaction. Maybe that's what's happening. Yeah, so it's fine. I'm gonna finish it for sure, but it's definitely causing me some. It's not. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's good also to not go into something super good. Oh my God, I'm itching everywhere. I need to go and get a allergy tablet. But I'm gonna finish this first. So yeah, that's one of the books that I'm reading. And actually today I haven't started it, but I'm just about to start The Night Shift by Stephen King. It's a short story collection, and I'm gonna try it now for the next several weeks. How many? Several weeks, several days to read one book a day, one story a day. I think they're around 20. So I'm looking forward to that because there are some really good stories in there that I hadn't really noticed, although there is a list here. But there is like, what was it? Children of the Corn, The Lawnmower Man. I mean, these were movies. Grey Matter, The Boogeyman. Sometimes They Come Back, like Graveyard Shift. There are some pretty good stories in here, so I really, really look forward to it. And thankfully, in June, it's still very light here, 24/7. So hopefully I won't be too afraid of the dark. Okay, I'm gonna go and get some allergy tablet before I choke. And, yeah. Let me know in the comments how you felt about Lonesome Dove, if you read it, or if you've read the Bandit Queens, and or like anything. Just let's talk in the comments about the books we're reading at the moment. Thank you for watching, and I will see you. Hopefully, I'm not dying. I will see you next week. Bye.